On this week's episode of the Nerf Report, the Nintendo Switch 2 is breaking major records and continuing to take the world of gaming by storm. Hideo Kojima shows off Death Stranding 2 on the beach. Xbox and Asus debut a brand new gaming handheld, which is making me question a lot of things in my life. We talk about this week's game of the week, the altars, all of this and a whole bunch of nonsense on this week's episode of the Nerf Report.
Are you listening?
Strangers from distant lands and friends of old, you've been summoned for another episode of the Nerf Report. Thank you again for hanging out with me this weekend on a Father's Day weekend episode of the Nerf Report. Big week for dads. And as a dad, I would like to give a shout out to my fellow gaming dads. I don't know if you're a gamer dad, you're playing video games with your kids, enjoying the world out there. Happy Father's Day to you. Maybe you're a gaming, streaming dad. You're out there being a streamer and you're a dad out on the internet. Happy Father's Day to you. Maybe you're a chat dad. Maybe you're a dad who's given fatherly advice to individuals like myself in the chat section. Happy Father's Day to you. Maybe you're a Tamagotchi dad and you always are taking care of your pets, making sure that they got food, water, and you're cleaning up their poop. Happy Father's Day to you. Happy Father's Day to the dog dads, even though I will say, questionable Happy Father's Day to you if you're a dog dad out there. But of course, whatever type of dad you are out there, happy Father's Day. I hope you are enjoying it. I hope it's filled with video games. And if you're listening to this on Father's Day, I feel honored that you are listening to this show as part of your Father's Day celebration. Before we get started with this week's show, big shout out to those of you that are listening on audio forms. The Nerf Report is obviously available on Apple and Spotify podcasts. And as always, I am honored that you take the opportunity to put in the earbuds and allow me to go down your ear canals and tickle your eardrums with gaming news on a weekly basis. Big shout out to y'all, and a big shout out to those of you who watch this show on YouTube every single week, along with my fellow ADHDers who can't watch long-form content, so you're scrolling through TikTok, scrolling through YouTube Shorts. The show is cut down every single week for you, so definitely make sure you're getting all of the Nerf gaming news in your life throughout the week. Next week, we're going on vacation, but don't worry, we will still have an episode that will be coming out on next Saturday, but just wanted to let y'all know, the show will be a little different because we can't predict the gaming news, but we will still have an episode for you because I don't want you to go without your gaming news podcast. Big week of video game news to talk about this week. And as we start every single episode, we got to talk about the games that are out this week for the week of June 9th. So let's pull those up. As we can tell, we also have another week where Mondays we just get shafted by the world of gaming because no games came out on Monday this week. Big L in the chat for that one. We gotta fix this, man. If there's any developers watching in the chat, release your damn games on Monday. I'm tired of there being no games on Monday. Moving to Tuesday, June 10th, we had Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine, the Master Crafted Edition. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege X launched on Tuesday. Mind's Eye had a hell of a launch, and when I say hell of a launch, boy, I thought Cyberpunk set the bar, but clearly Mind's Eye was like, hold my controller. I'm going to show you how it's done. And then on Tuesday, we closed out the day with Dune Awakening. It launched on PC. A lot of praise going on that game right now. A lot of people loving it. Definitely deserves its flowers. Check that game out. Moving on to Wednesday, June 11th, we had Stellar Blade. Thursday, June 12th, we had Wizards of Legend 2. And then on Friday, June 13th, we had Five Nights at Freddy's, Secret of the Mimic. And then closing out the week for us is our game of the week, the Altars. This game is so cool. I can't wait to dive into this and talk to y'all about it. But before we do that, sound off in the comment section. Let me know what you're playing this week. What game are you currently playing? Where are you? Have you beat the level? Are you stuck on a level? If you're stuck, let me be your FAQ. Put the question. Say, hey, how do I beat this level of Kingdom Hearts? How do I beat this level of Call of Duty? How do I do this in Crash Bandicoot? I will answer that question for you in the comment section. As always, I am here as your gaming guru. Probably going to have to ask ChatGPT how to answer it, but hey, with the power of AI, I can do anything for you. But anyway, moving on from the games that launched this week, we have to talk about the Big Daddy, the game of the week. And this week's game of the week is the Altars, a brand new third-person sci-fi adventure game from 11-Bit Studios. And doing prep work for this show, I was like, what can we say about this game that will hone in what this game is? Because it is so unique. In fact, if you haven't seen it yet, let's pull this up. Let's pull the trailer up. This is incredible because in a world of Call of Duty and in a world of Souls-like video games, this game has action, so you got plenty of action if you need it. It's got RPG narrative mechanics, which who doesn't love that? It's got base building mechanics. There's puzzle solving, and the sci-fi goodness. Like, this game has everything you could possibly want, and I am thrilled to dive into this week. So first things first, let's pull up the Metacritic score right now. The Alters has an 84 on Metacritic, and when you look at some of these reviews, a lot of them are talking about like the game's storytelling and how it's embracing real-world topics of things like regret, identity, and self-worth, and you don't get that very often in games, so as someone that loves to see games grow up, I'm all for it. Now, Metacritic score obviously is filled by a bunch of scores. Let's talk about some of the key press reviews out there. The Gamer gave it a 100. Game Rant gave Alters a 100. Games Radar Plus gave it a 90. Windows Central gave it a 90. PC Gamer gave it a 90. And Eurogamer gave it an 80. And look, obviously that is their reviews. I just want to talk about what I think makes this game super special. The first thing has to be the title, right? The Alters. That in itself has to do so much with this game, and it's just such a trippy concept. So in the game, you play as Jean Dolsky, and he's like the last survivor on this alien planet, and by yourself, you can't survive. So you're starting to use like this cloning technology to create other versions of yourself, and those are called alters. But what makes this super trippy is each alter is basically designed off a different life decision. Jean could have been like, I want to be an engineer, and then that one becomes an engineer. They go back in time and they tweak this version where one of them joined the military, so he's very military focused. The other one's a botanist, so it grows plants. Every choice that he makes now lives and breathes in that individual's, but it's altered by like, hey, this one decision in your life turns you into this individual, which is such a trippy concept. Each alter also has their own unique skill sets, which allow you to like delegate things like crafting, researching, cooking, or even like base maintenance, but they're not mindless clones. These are literally versions of you that have their own personalities, their own memories, their own opinions, and along with their own versions of guilt. And again, I'm not popping edibles, but when this game does go and it's installed into my console, Greg Abbott, look away, I might be popping 1 or 2 edibles while I'm playing this game, because that sounds like a trip. Now, moving on from the alters, we got to talk about the gameplay loop, because this is a blend of survival, time management, base building, and obviously narrative interaction. The core concept of this game is you have a mobile base that is constantly moving around the planet to avoid the deadly sunlight. And inside your base, you've got rooms that are like you got to use to manage resources. Other things are like keeping your alters busy with tasks and productivity, and it's keeping you healthy. And some of those tasks inside of the base are things like building and upgrading, right? You'll go in there and you got to upgrade your base. You got to update like different rooms. You also have to assign jobs to your different alters based on their skills to help you maintain the base. Crafting items so you can survive. You engage in dialogue with the other survivors, building upon the story, building relationships, making sure that your alters trust you and they're not worried that you're going to betray them. And then there's random events that happen around the map and around the game that give you like choices that will impact your entire operation and your entire game. In fact, like one of the things I was reading is that if you push too hard, and yes, you might survive, but like your alters might have a mental break and they'll like not going to help you anymore and they'll just completely quit. That's a trippy concept. And it's such a like high level of interaction and like socio like interaction that I'm like, dude, I love it. I'm absolutely in for this. Now, as I mentioned, sunlight will kill you in this game. So sunlight equals death. If you do plan on playing this game, make sure you keep that in mind. If your base stays in the sun for too long, your systems begin to overheat, your resources will spoil, and characters will suffer damage inside the base. So you're constantly moving your base as you're playing, racing the planet's spin, and trying to keep it in like these twilight zones where the sun doesn't touch. And that creates like a real-time pressure. because you got to plan your constructions, you got to plan your upgrade, while also paying attention to like where the sun is. When you take your missions out to like the outer planet areas away from your base, you got to be worried like, man, is the sun going to impact me? Should I do this at nighttime? Again, really cool concept when it comes to this game. And one of the things that makes it so easy to be interested in this game is that it's a trippy concept. I will be the first to say, like, dude, that has some heavy concepts. It might not work, but the level of entry is so low because The Altars is available on Xbox Game Pass. So if you are a Game Pass subscriber, you can access this game immediately as part of your subscription, so you don't have to worry about wasting your money on a big game. I don't think it would be wasting your money to play it, but when you're paying like $19.99 a month, this is a no-brainer of a game to pick up. And look, because of all of that, I think that this game sounds like a great way to spend your next week and a half. If you're like, what should I be playing next week? Definitely check out The Altars. And that is why The Altars is this week's Game of the Week. And it is available right now for Xbox and PlayStation and, of course, PC. Can't forget the PC gamers out there. But let me know your thoughts on this week's Game of the Week. Have you played The Altars yet? Am I completely off base on my understanding of what this game is? Is it better? Is it worse? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think Game Pass ruined it? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, I'd love to hear your feedback on these stories. And moving on from The Altars, we got to talk about the world of Nintendo, as it has been 2 weeks since the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2, and it is already breaking records. That's right. Over 3.5 million Switch 2s are in the wild right now, and a lot of happy gamers out there, but there's also gamers like me who were unable to get our hands on the Switch 2, and we're just hopefully gonna find it one day. In fact, I thought it would be really funny to come on here and call up a couple GameStops and be like, hey, do you have it? Do you have it? And just like be like, oh, look, if you're watching, it's available in Pennsylvania. Go pick it up here, or just do a live stream where we're on here just calling random stores to try to find an inventory. So it's like, if you're trying to find a Switch 2, watch our live stream. We're going to be going from store to store trying to find inventory. And someone could come in the chat and be like, I live in Arizona, and we'll literally go and call every game store on. I think that would have been the funniest live stream. We still might do it. Let me know in the comments if you think that sounds interesting or not. But anyway, back to the story. ADD is kicking in hard today. Nintendo this week revealed that the company has already sold 3.5 million Nintendo Switch 2 units in just 4 days. Interestingly enough, 940,000 of those belong to Japan. So, Europe, North America, the rest of the world, bringing in big boy numbers, man. 2.6 million units outside of Japan. That is a big deal for Nintendo. In fact, it's such a big deal. Tom Warren over at The Verge wrote an article this week that said that those numbers mean that the Switch 2 is outpacing both the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 when it comes to their launch window performance. And I did some simple math, but based off of like the price, $449 for the Switch per unit times 3.5 million units, Nintendo generated $1.57 billion in 4 days. Which, look, I made it very clear on this show. I will be happy to sell out the moment a company wants to put their logo here on the mic. If Nintendo wants to send me a Switch 2 and wants to share some of that $1.57 billion, hey, welcome to Nintendo Cast. But anyway, we do spend a lot of time criticizing Nintendo here, and we have been very critical of this launch. I did want to take the opportunity and say, congratulations to Nintendo. That is a very successful launch. They definitely deserve their praise. Selling 3.5 million units is no easy feat, and I do think Nintendo deserves some credit there. It is interesting that when you look at like the stories that happened over the last week, they shipped 3.5 million units. But all of us were distracted by GameStop ruining 3 of them. And it was easily the biggest clip of the last week. Like, so many people were so focused in on the fact that GameStop ruined like 3 of these units. And people were in the comment section being like, damn, GameStop, I can't believe you did this. Making it sound like they did it to all the units. It was only 3 of them. But I did think it was interesting because a lot of people came into the comment section that were defending GameStop. And I wanted to ask a question to the viewers watching this show. Like, we got GameStop employees watching our show. I mean, I know you get slow in the stores around lunchtime, but are you swiping through TikTok, seeing our show, talking about video games? If so, hey, how you doing? Also, I appreciate you guys defending your company in the comment section. I think there was a lot of GameStop managers who saw us talking about the staple, and they're like, whoa. One guy did it, all right? One employee stapled 3 Switches. It wasn't every store in GameStop. In fact, I screenshotted a comment. somebody commented on our clip and basically said it was one store, 3 systems, GameStop replaced them right then, no issues. Y'all want to make content out of something, take 5 seconds to read any news article about it. Okay, apologies. Go ahead, keep defending GameStop. I hope your store's doing very well, but at the end of the day, it still ruined 3 Switches. That's what the story is. Yes, you replaced them, cool job, but like, we didn't say that every GameStop was stapling Nintendo Switches. It was one store, right? Never did we say the entire company. Another comment was saying, dude, it was one employee at one location, not every employee at GameStop. Never said it was every employee, right? One employee stapled 3 Switches. That's a big deal. How many PlayStation 5s ever got stapled? Very few. Very few. And then the final one that I was like, this might be a GameStop employee said, some moron at a single store decided on their own it was a good idea to staple the receipts to the box is what happened. People are trying to make this out like it was a GameStop company policy. It's a nothing story about a GameStop employee being bad at their job. No surprises. People are just thirsty for Switch 2 rage bait. Sincerely, Ryan Cohen, the CEO of GameStop. No, I'm just joking. No, that was a joke. That was a real comment, but Ryan Cohen did not comment on that. In fact, I think Ryan Cohen's got bigger things that they're worried about right now than commenting on a YouTube video. But anyway, Nintendo, obviously these are great sales numbers for them. 3.5 million is a big deal for them internally, but they've got big plans for the first year of this console. In fact, Nintendo has already said that by March of 2026, they predict that the Switch 2 will hit 15 million units sold, which means from now until March, 12 million more Switches will be going to the wild. So you can look at that 2 different ways. Number 1, the economy's doing just fine. People complaining about eggs means nothing. People are like, I can get a Switch 2. Who cares if eggs cost $8? We're going in and we're buying a Switch 2. The second way you could look at that is that like, oh man, we got plenty of inventory coming. A lot of people are worried that they're not going to be able to get it before Christmas, but let me tell you, if they want to hit 12 million units by March, those Switch 2s are going to be prevalent out there. I already know restocks are starting to like slowly trickle in. Amazon still hasn't even put up the Switch 2 to sell on its website. That is very interesting to me because that was where I was planning on buying it, and hopefully we'll see that soon. And I have to assume that as we get closer to fall and like Black Friday and the holiday season, we're going to be seeing a lot more of these Switches available out there to purchase. And yeah, it's interesting. And the other thing that really interests me surrounding this story is that like, yes, it has its criticisms. Yes, it has its flaws. Yes, it's not the most powerful piece of tech. But there's a segment of gamers who just are having a hard time understanding, like, why is there any demand for this console? Why is the Switch 2 even succeeding? And I think it's definitely worth noting, the Switch 2 might not be like a current generation console. It's not competing with the PlayStation 5. It's not competing with the Xbox Series X. But the Switch 2 is an upgrade from the original Switch hardware, and the gamers who love the Nintendo ecosystem but just want better hardware, this is a great solution for this. You're getting a better screen, faster performance, you got redesigned Joy-Cons, and plus you got Mario Kart World, which I definitely think is worth noting. Because, right, when you look at the video games here, the games are not leading this upgrade, right? No one's looking out there being like, I really want to play Mario Kart World, and that is why I'm buying the Switch 2. Shouldn't say nobody. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's like, I can't wait to buy Mario Kart World. What I'm trying to say is the average gamer is not rushing to the store to buy Mario Kart World, right? It's a brand new chapter of Mario Kart. It's getting decent reviews. People are digging the 24 races. But in no way is this on par with like God of War, The Last of Us, or even like Titanfall, where it's genuinely selling consoles. Because outside of Mario Kart World, you start to ask, like, what are people playing? Oh, they're playing previous gen games, just at better graphics. Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. A lot of people are playing those games on the Switch 2, which tells me this was an upgrade console for a lot of gamers. And as soon as we start getting bigger titles like Donkey Kong Bonanza and other first-party exclusives that are exclusive to the Switch 2, yeah, I think we will see this thing begin to skyrocket as far as demand goes. Real quick sidebar about Mario Kart World. I don't know if you guys saw it this week, but there was a really funny video. In the game, when you want to unlock characters and costumes, you got to spend coins in the store in order to get it. One guy unlocked everything in the game within 2 hours simply by following this car in the open world. And this car is just trucking along and it's like popping out coins. And every time he collects a coin, he's like saving it up. He literally followed this car for hours and was able to buy everything in the store and unlocked everything. Very funny story. So if you're tired of unlocking things and tired of earning coins, just find that car. It's a brown sedan driving through the map. Just get that and just get all your coins there. But anyway, sound off in the comment section. Let me know how your second week with the Switch 2 has been going. Are you still enjoying the console? What has it been like? What games are you playing? Did you buy it for Mario Kart World, or are you just playing older generation games? Let me know in the comment section down below. And moving on from one handheld, let's talk about another, because Xbox and Asus just announced a brand new set of gaming handhelds which debuted during the Xbox Game Showcase, which first and foremost, thank you to all of you who hung out with us during the live stream over on TikTok and YouTube Live. I really enjoyed getting to see those games with you, and I hope we can do more of those live streams in the future. But I would like to say, these handhelds are incredible. In fact, when Xbox put together this trailer, it was the first handheld that has taken my attention away from the Switch 2. Like, I still want a Nintendo Switch 2, but if I was given the choice, and there was a Switch 2 here on the table, and there was an Xbox Asus Rogue X right here, 100% I'm taking the Xbox Rogue X, because that thing looks incredible. Yeah, in fact, let's break this down. So there will be two different versions. You got the Xbox Ally, which is the standard version, and then you have the Xbox Ally X. The Xbox Ally Standard will have an AMD Ryzen Z2A processing chip. It will have 16 gigabytes of storage and 512 gigabytes of SSD. The display will be a 7-inch 1080p IPS touchscreen. It'll have a 120 Hz refresh rate. The battery will be 60 watts per hour. The weight will be 670 grams. You'll have dual USB-C ports and a micro SD slot, and your video output will be a native 720p to 90p for gaming. And when you transition to the Xbox Ally X, obviously this is going to be a little more higher end. You get an AMD Ryzen AI Z2 Extreme. You get 24 gigabytes of RAM and a 1 terabyte solid state drive. The battery is 80 watts per hour. The weight is 715 grams. You get a Thunderbolt 4 port, an extra USB-C port, and a micro SD reader. The video output for the X will be a 1080p with up to 120 Hz, along with impulse triggers for the haptic feedback. And look, hardware nerds are eating this up. For me, I don't know what a single thing of that means. I just know that I can play PC and Xbox games on this, and I love this. In fact, the internal software is the Xbox full screen experience. Essentially, this boots directly into the Xbox gaming app. It hides the complexity of a desktop, and it will support Game Pass, Steam, the Epic Game Store, cloud, and remote streaming. And I am very jealous because a few of the tech influencers got hands on like an early access preview to both of these devices. And some of the praise that they've been giving is like, number one, the library, right? This Rogue X is essentially going to give you like Steam Deck capabilities with Xbox Play Anywhere. In fact, the Xbox Game Showcase was extremely clear that everything moving forward will be Xbox Play Anywhere. So on this, you'll have like GOG, Steam, Battle.net, Ubisoft, Cloud Gaming, all of that. And a lot of people were like, hey, we want the original Xbox handheld to play Xbox games natively. With everything that I'm reading and hearing about this console, we will get this with this new Asus Xbox handheld. And the other thing a lot of them were praising were the ergonomics. In fact, Xbox to date has one of the best feeling gaming controllers. Like, it just fits in your hand. And a lot of people were saying that this controller feels like an Xbox controller's, but it also just basically is expanded. It's a little thicker. It just feels right in your hands. The Ally will also be more powerful than the current hardware on the marketplace right now. According to some of the reports I was reading, Xbox got to work on the actual operating system for this handheld, and they eliminated a lot of the bloat and made this thing as powerful and as fast as humanly possible. Now, we're talking about the praises first. Now let's go into the criticisms, because there are a couple things we had to talk about. First and foremost, the weight. They were saying that this new Xbox Asus handheld will be 35% heavier than the Nintendo Switch 2, and it will be 2 ounces heavier than the Steam Deck, which the Steam Deck OLED is not that heavy. And for it to be 2 ounces, I mean, like, minimal. That's not a lot. 2 ounces is not a lot of weight to hold something in your hand. The other thing people are really concerned about is the OS, right? This is an Xbox operating system, and they're worried that that might create some limitations. Like, how much of this is broken off? Can you still go in there and, make tweaks and make changes to the actual system? Which is what people do like about the Steam Deck and some of the other PC handhelds, is that they can actually customize them to their experience. There are people who are concerned that this handheld won't have workarounds for Windows or anything like that. I will say, I love this. I absolutely adore the idea of this handheld. The trailer 100% sold me on it. And as I mentioned, this thing it is very much making me not want a Nintendo Switch 2. Like, I want a Switch 2 badly, but looking at this, I feel like I would pick the Xbox gaming handheld. And the other interesting narrative is, like, when we first heard about this a couple months ago, they were like, well, this is the first gaming handheld Xbox will be releasing, and then we'll have an Xbox native handheld. But it sounds like this new handheld is a good enough strategy for Xbox that we might not even get the native handheld. Because this Xbox handheld will play Xbox games natively, because essentially all Xbox games moving forward will be Xbox Play Anywhere. And I would bet $1 million that any Xbox first-party game that launched within the last 3 years will become Xbox Play Anywhere within the launch of this console. And speaking of launch, that is the biggest bummer for me. We don't have a release date. They just said end of 2025, which could mean anything. But, like, I want this thing tomorrow. So, Phil Spencer, any of the Xbox friends, if you want to send it over, please. I would love to play around with this handheld here in the studio. But then the other bummer is that there's no pricing, right? There's no pricing whatsoever, which tells me that this Xbox gaming handheld from Asus is going to be very expensive. I've seen some people talk about like $799, $899. I don't think you can say $1,000. I feel like that would just be like, everyone would be like, no thanks. I personally, I'm thinking like $699. $599 would also make sense, but it really depends on what Xbox is wanting to accomplish here. So I love it. I think it's super cool. Sound off in the comments letting me know what you thought about. Were you impressed? Are you wanting to sell your Switch 2 to be able to get one of these? Where are you at in the world of gaming? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this new Xbox gaming handheld. And moving on from Xbox, let's talk about Mind's Eye, who had a very chaotic launch this week, because Mind's Eye is officially out, and all of the concerns and speculation about the game's launch seems to have been validated. Yeah, in case you missed it, Mind's Eye launched this week. It launched on June 10th. This game is now available for the PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, and the game was promising. It's a brand new, big sci-fi, narrative-driven action-adventure game from the creators of Grand Theft Auto. And pre-launch, the game got a lot of backlash. Post-launch, the game is getting way more backlash because when the game launched, it had a bunch of crashes. There's gamers who are saying that this game is constantly crashing. It's got like sub 30 frames per second performance. There's really bizarre bugs. One of them I saw on TikTok was like objects and NPCs would be like appear on the screen and explode, or they would just like completely disappear, which is not what you want from the game. And it's safe to say the studio is in full damage control. In fact, probably the most popular clip of this week was Go Carnage was doing a live stream, and he was sponsored by the Mind's Eye developer Build a Rocket Boy. And essentially, right before the stream was about to start, he was like booting up the game, and he was like, hey, we're canceling the stream. The developer has asked me to pause the sponsored live stream, and we are canceling it. And there's other streamers who have come out, and they're like, hey, we've been requested not to live stream this game at all, so we're going to hold off. Definitely in the world of gaming that we live in today, where live streaming is so critical and like first impressions are so important, not the impression you want. And I did want to take a second to give developer Build a Rocket Boy, the opportunity to address this. And it sounds like, based off what I'm reading, they're claiming that this is a memory related issue and that they will be sending out like 3 updates over the next month that will address a lot of these issues. But I think it's also safe to say that these should have been done before launch. Why are we insisting on launching a broken game and then we'll say, oh, we'll fix it in post? No, post is literally before the game launches. Why is this game still crashing every 10 seconds? Why are people appearing and then blowing up in my face in mid-game? Fix your damn games before you launch it. We are benefiting from the fact that Sony is offering full refunds for this game, but this could have been so worse. And the irony here, like the literal irony behind Mind's Eye, is that the developer claimed that the negativity surrounding this game was coordinated and paid off by bigger studios who didn't want their game to succeed. The only one who didn't want their game to succeed was this studio. Why in the living hell did you rush this game? If this is the quality that Mind's Eye was in, and you knew it, why did you launch it? We gave you the benefit of the doubt. And then you do this. If anything, I hope to God that this is a wake-up call. Because no one is paying to ruin your game. You launched a half-baked video game. It is a bug-ridden video game. And if these patches are launching within a month, why didn't you do them and just delay the game by a month and then make the game ready to launch? I refuse to let a developer come out and be like, oh, it's a coordinated attack. Oh, bots are trying to ruin our game. My former employer is trying to make it so the game doesn't work. Well, no. You can't do that and then launch a half-ass game that has all the problems that people who you accuse to be bots of accusing. Because look, no battery packs, no cables. I'm not a bot. And I will say, based off the clips of what I'm seeing, homie, you should have delayed your game. Dear God. Like, this cannot become a trend. This has to stop. Anyway, like we mentioned, PlayStation is offering refunds. If you're running into disappointment with this game, I highly recommend potentially just getting a refund. And then once the game is up and running and ready to go, pick it up then. And then hopefully it will be in a better state. Now, moving on from a game that is having a very rough launch, let's jump into a game that I hope to God is fully bug-free when it launches, because I don't think the internet legit can handle it. That's right, Hideo Kojima dropped a brand new gameplay trailer for Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and we are legit weeks away from this game launching. And this trailer, for the most part, is our first look at gameplay. We've gotten some weird trailers before where, like, okay, it showed a little bit of gameplay, but it was also just, like, very Kojima. You're like, I don't know what I'm watching. This trailer was the first time that we got to see, like, a true image of what this game is going to be. So, essentially, Death Stranding 2 will pick up 11 months after the original game. You are now in a world where the United Cities of America have formed, and Sam, played by Norman Reedus, has left the Bridges organization to live a more personal life with his BB, Lou. And according to Kojima, this game starts off in Mexico, but then eventually you start playing this game and you're in Australia. Sam gets drawn back into the work, and he's told he needs to extend the network and reconnect the isolated communities down south. And again, if you love the first game, I think you are going to thoroughly enjoy this. And I also feel like, really, you could jump into this game if you never played the first one and I think have a good time. And some of the upgrades that we need to talk about are specifically surrounding the environmental changes to this game. The rivers that you have to cross in-game have the ability to flood if it's raining too hard. Fires can break out at any time, and earthquakes happen. You'll literally be walking and you'll have all the stuff on your back, and then everything will shake around you. I'm interested to see if that causes things like avalanches or like rock falls, or maybe with the flooding we see things like mudslides, like as you're going through the terrain in the hills. A lot of cool opportunities here. Another change is the game's travel. In DS1, you had like rope ladders and zip lines, which of course you'll have those in this game. But with Death Stranding 2, you'll have things like monorails for long travel across long distances. You got boats, and there's a lot of different things we see here in this trailer. But the other changes we see is like the brand new skill tree for the game. You got cargo management that allows you to move it around to different areas. There's new stealth and shooting mechanics. You got new enemies and monsters to encounter. And look, overall, this game looks like it's going to be just as good, if not better, than Death Stranding 1. And I see a lot of people out there, a lot of people who've had early hands-on time with this game that are like, this is game of the year. And who knows? Jeff Keighley is really good friends with Hideo Kojima. There's a very good chance that since Grand Theft Auto 6 is not launching this year, that just by the fact that Kojima and Keighley are such good friends, this might be our game of the year, or this might be the game that wins game of the year at Game Awards. I don't know if this will be my game of the year, but I will definitely be checking this out. So anyway, let me know in the comment section what you thought about the trailer. Was it enough to sell you on the game? Are you interested in the game? Did you like the first one enough to pick up a second? Tell me in the comment section your thoughts as always. And as we end the show, I would like to take the opportunity to say thank you again for hanging out with me this weekend. It was a big week for the world of gaming, and I'm glad you took the opportunity to catch up on all the gaming news stories, and it means to the world that you made it to this far into the show. And as we did last week, please, in the comment section, put #end, letting us know that you made it to the end of the episode. It meant a lot. I saw a couple people in the comment section put that last week, and I was like, oh, man, it genuinely made me smile. So thank you to those of you who took the time to put those messages. Until next time, thank you again so much for watching. A big thank you to the Nerf Gaming News Plus members who make this show possible. Share it with your grandma, like the video, put it on social media. And until next time, my friends, we will see you in the next video.